Well, my name is Dennis, and I'm chairperson of Voices for Change and I'm a member of LIFT, and both organizations engage in political advocacy on behalf of homeless people, people who've experienced homelessness, and people who are living in poverty. This year we're planning to working to pass legislation requiring the automatic expungement of unlawful detainers after 18 months. In the course of my advocacy, I'm regularly reminded of elements of the reNEW Minnesota vision, the overrepresentation of racial and ethnic minorities among those in need of social service assistance. Speaks to the importance of the need to embrace the politics of inclusion and justice for all, and to create a fair and equitable economy that benefits everyone. On September 26th, I'm proud to say I was a table discussion leader at the event launching the reNEW Minnesota campaign. All the candidates present voiced support for the reNEW vision. I recall that you shared with us about the struggles on your family farm. And so my question to you is that since the day of that event, when you voiced your agreement, what have you done to enact the vision, and how have you incorporated that vision into your campaign?
You better believe it. Well, thanks so much. All right, I'm going to put that down. Well, I really appreciate that question. And first of all, living that vision is a matter of faith for me in my faith community. And so what I do in my personal life and what my partner, my husband, and I do is to support things that help lift people out of poverty. In my work life, I do that as well, both in planning for justice in our state and correcting the wrongs that have been happening in our state. So I'm going to point out a couple of them for you and where I've been actively involved showing leadership. The issue of general assistance medical care in this state, basic health care. And we know the basic health care that people receive, the 31,000 Minnesotans who receive this monthly, are often in poverty, and many of them are in categories that we would talk about of being racially different than a white majority. And I think it's been important for us to fix that problem in this next legislative session, not just because it's a matter of jobs for healthcare workers in the state, because it's a matter of justice. And so I've been providing leadership all the way along here to make sure that we have a solution early in this legislative session that is going to be a successful solution to, again, provide the help that's needed on the healthcare side of this. I've been thinking a lot and doing some work right now to make sure that I'm prepared as governor to be able to deliver on this vision. So one of the ways we deliver on the vision as governor is to make sure that we have a Metropolitan Council, and I've been thinking a lot about the Metropolitan Council, because the Metropolitan Council is not just important to transportation and transit, as we know from right out here with light rail transit and what's happening, but we also know it's very important to housing. And a place that the Metropolitan Council could be working together with our state is actually on education. It's actually called for in state statute to achieve the integration of our school districts, our public school districts, that the Met Council work with the Department of Education. It's not going to surprise you that that has not been happening over the last 8 years. As governor, I will make sure that happens, both through Metropolitan Council reform, but also through who I appoint as the person to be in charge of the Met Council. Now finally, I want to touch on jobs, because jobs have to be shared, and I'm going to run out of time, and I'm sure we'll follow up on that further. All right.
Well, why don't I use a follow-up question
Yes.
To get to that, and tell me that how do the priorities you're talking about on your campaign, and whether it is reforming the Met Council or jobs, how do those incorporate the vision into your campaign?
Well, I think having the ability on jobs to make sure that everyone in this state is sharing in future prosperity. And to me, this is part of what it looks like, is making sure we have education and training that is appropriate and culturally connected to the community. That's why I have been working actively with the Hire Coalition and making sure that people of all backgrounds can share in the prosperity. Last legislative session, I made sure that our weatherization money was something that was going to be shared by all of us in terms of the job training. And we're going to make sure that there are accountable goals in state government to achieve this. I think it's atrocious what's happened in MnDOT, where we don't have people who are sharing in the wealth of the prosperity of construction jobs. In our campaign, we have a very diverse campaign staff. I think it's important to bring this right home into the campaign And we are always looking for other people who both want to volunteer and be hired eventually as organizers and others.
All right.
Okay.
Should we go to Town is next?
Hi.
Speaker. My name is Tal May, and I'm from Champlin, Minnesota. As a mother, a domestic violence advocate, and I'm organizing Legal Take Action Minnesota, I'm extremely disappointed in the lack of courage on the part of our current governor to raise taxes. With funding cuts in education, public safety, and healthcare, our communities are left vulnerable and unequipped to meet their basic needs. In particular, I'm worried about the education system. My daughter is 8 months now, and the decisions that the next governor makes will affect her education and the quality of her education. I want her to go to schools that are well-funded, where she and all her classmates can thrive. So we need a leader who is willing to increase taxes and invest in the well-being of our families. So I'm asking you, Speaker, will you be willing to invest in my family, in all our families, and will you have the courage to increase taxes to do so? And just as importantly, how will you use your campaign as a platform to build the political support for raising taxes?
Well, as mom to mom, I want to thank you and congratulate you on having an 8-month-old daughter. My kids are 15 and 12. And I think we can all connect around the issues of making sure that all Minnesota children have a brighter future going forward. I think that means that you have to be able to provide the courage and the action to stabilize this state budget so we can do the next big things in the areas like education. So let me talk about that budget stability first. Over the last 3 years, I've led a House of Representatives that 3 years in a row has started with progressive taxation at the heart and center of what we're doing. It is not fair when Minnesotans who are earning over $300,000 a year pay less than their fair share in state and local taxes, and Minnesotans who earn $40,000 a year, $30,000 a year, $50,000 a year, $20,000 a year are paying more. That is not fair. The cuts that have been imposed on people over the last 8 years in the categories we just talked about, you know what? Those are a form of taxation as well, those cuts, because they hurt the poor and the middle income folks as much as a tax increase might hurt the pocket of somebody who has a wallet that has the money in it. So I am going to have the courage to take on the economics of this. There is false economics out there about what is happening. It is not true that states that raise taxes drive jobs out. You know what? In 1934, in the election that Floyd B. Olson ran for governor, the argument against Floyd B. Olson was this: jobs are going to move out. It's going to become a barren wasteland if Olson wins re-election. Hark, I hear an echo of 1934, everyone. These are the very same arguments that have been used against people for a long time in the Democratic Party. We need to turn them back on their heels. The tax code actually encourages investment in the enterprise you're running. Now in education, I have a plan. We need an equitable, stable, fair education funding formula all across this state. I believe that's called the new Minnesota Miracle. And we need to fund early childhood education so every child, birth to 5 years old, is ready for kindergarten. And as a mom, that's my promise to you, mom to mom, all right?
If I could have a follow-up on that.